stands for the red racist Republicans, and blue stands for the blue dumb Democrats. And then you notice during the party when Chris and Rose are sitting together, Rose is wearing this white and actually it's light gray and red striped top. And sitting together, what do they look like sitting together? They look like the flag, don't they? They look like the flag, right? And so Chris is the patch of blue in the upper right-hand corner of the flag. And if you all recall, the flag has 50 five-pointed stars. And the five-pointed star is a star that represents man. And the fact that there's 50 five-pointed stars in the U.S. flag represents the 50 people who inhabit the 50 residents who inhabit the 50 states. All right? So all of this is symbolic, and all of this tells a story once you drill down a little deeper. Fact number 7, the party's over, right? The party is over. Chris finds out too late that the party is over and that the whole Armitage family is in on the deal. They're all in on the setup. Misty sends him to the sunken place, and when he wakes up, he's strapped to a chair, sitting in front of an old-fashioned television set. And you hear, coming from the speakers in the television, the phrase, "A mind is a terrible thing to waste." Tagline of the United Negro College Fund, right? A mind is a terrible thing to waste, as they're getting ready to take out his mind, as they've done to so many others before him. So Grandpa Armitage appears on the TV screen and begins to tell Chris the story of what they're in for. He begins to talk about the coagular procedure, which he perfected with his own hands. This procedure by which he, as a neurosurgeon, and his son is also a neurosurgeon, can transplant the brain of a European into the body of an African, thereby giving the Europeans immortality in a black body. And there is an organization called the Order of the Coagula, which is all about supporting this endeavor. And they come to these annual meetings in order to select the next black person whose body somebody is going to purchase and inhabit. All right? So the whole film and race issues are best summed up in a 4-minute conversation between Chris and Jim, the white man who won Chris's body at the auction. So if you just listen to this 4-minute conversation, it tells a very chilling story about race in America. So I want to play this clip for you and just take note of the satirical approach to race relations in the United States that is embedded in this 4-minute clip. Okay?
Wait. Hey, Chris. How's it going, buddy? You can answer. There's an intercom in the room.
Where's Rose?
Oh, you dirty dog. You're one of the lucky ones. Trust me. Jeremy's wrangling method sounds way less pleasant. I'm supposed to answer any outstanding questions, concerns you may have so far. Apparently, our common understanding of the process has a positive impact on the success rate of the procedure. You give a shit, right? Okay. Let me just tell you what it is. Phase 1 was the hypnotism. That's how they sedate you. Phase 2 is this. Mental preparation. It's basically psychological pre-op.
Yeah.
For phase 3, the transplantation. Well, partial, actually. The piece of your brain connected to your nervous system needs to stay put, keeping those intricate connections intact. So you won't be gone, and not completely. A sliver of you will still be in there somewhere. Limited consciousness. And you'll be able to see and hear what your body is doing, but your existence will be as a passenger. An audience. You'll live in
The sunken place.
Now you're in the sunken place.
Yeah, that's what she calls it. Now, I'll control the motor function, so I'll be
Me. You'll be me.
good. Good. You got it quick. Good on you.
Why us? Why black people?
Who knows? People want to change. Some people want to be stronger, faster, cooler.
Black is in fashion.
But please don't let me into that. You know, I could give a shit what color you are. You know, what I want is deeper. I want your eye. I want those things you see through.
This is crazy.
Camped out.
So that one line is chilling. I want your eyes, man. I want those things you see through. That's all he wanted. So Chris is stuck, strapped in a chair, wishing he had gotten out a long time ago, but he's stuck. And then he looks down at the chair and he sees where he's picked apart the leather in the chair and sees the cotton sticking out. And then he finally hears his ancestors. He hears the voices of his cotton-picking ancestors, right? Takes the cotton, puts it in his ears, so he's no longer hypnotized by the sound of the teacup, and he's able to escape, right? So the essence of the plan is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Phase one is hypnosis. The psychiatrist hypnotizes him and sends him into that sunken place. Phase two is mental preparation, psychological pre-op, where he now tells him, this is what the deal is, and I'm preparing your body to receive my mind so that I can better control you. And phase three is the transplantation, which leaves the host in a limited consciousness as a passenger in the sunken place within his or her own body and mind. That's a hell of a metaphor for a lot of folk that you all know who live their lives in the sunken place and have no idea that they're there. So I can just imagine what Dr. Francis Welsing would say about this movie. I mean, I really wish that she could talk about this and the current president, you know. But she prepped us for this because she told us all along what was coming. And she said that if you don't understand the nature of racism and white supremacy, she and Neely Fuller said that if you don't understand the nature and manifestations of racism and white supremacy, then everything that you think you understand will only confuse you. And there's a lot of confused folk out here because they didn't listen, because they didn't get woke until it's too late. So after all of this, Chris finally gets woke and realizes that he needs to get out. And he then prepares to free himself. Now, the interesting thing is that while he's downstairs in the basement grappling with all of this stuff, his girlfriend, the love of his life, is upstairs in her bedroom chilling, She is chilling. Now, this scene is the scene that Jordan Peele said that he wrote after the movie was already done. They were already shooting the film, and he was watching some material online and decided to rewrite this scene. So check out the elements in this scene where Rose is upstairs in a bedroom chilling. She's dressed in white, right? And she's listening to a song from the movie Flashdance, I've Had the Time of My Life. All right, so she doesn't give a damn about Chris or all the other black lives that she's destroyed. She's having the time of her life. She lives to do this, right? And so you notice her drinking milk and eating cereal, right? But the cereal and the milk are separated. The milk is white and the cereal is colored, huh? So she's keeping the colors separated. She carefully picks a piece of cereal out of the jar and then she sips the milk, right? And so what Jordan was trying to do with this scene was he was responding to this new thing on the internet where you have these alt-right neo-Nazis in Europe particularly who have this thing about milk. White milk represents white pride because black folk are lactose intolerant and can't consume white milk. And white milk is good for building healthy bones. So they're saying they're looking at white milk as a sign of privilege, something that gives them an advantage over black folks. So white milk is now being used by racists as a symbol of their superiority. So he rewrote this scene in order to reflect this current trend in American and worldwide racism. And while she's sitting there having the time of her life, she's on the internet trolling for her next black victims, right? And then she happens to stumble upon this image of this brother, this basketball player, who she's going to zero in on as her next love interest, you know? Another interesting sidebar to the film is that basketball player is Jordan Peele's comedy partner, Keegan-Michael Key. All right, so they got a lot of little things in this movie that they can talk about, they can laugh about behind closed doors. But it speaks to the level of thought that went into writing this film. So, fact 8, freedom. While Chris is literally in the hot seat, he frees himself by listening to his cotton-picking ancestors plug his ears with cotton so he can't hear that hypnotic spoon hitting the cup, sending him into the sunken place. And I'm still trying to figure out how, if his hands are strapped to the chair, how is he able to take the cotton and put it in his ear? But that's another story. That's something I can overlook. You know, don't want to be too critical. But Chris gets free, and he kills the father, he kills the mother, and then he kills the son. And then he takes the son's car keys, gets in the car and starts to drive away, but then he hits the sister, Georgina. And he makes a crucial mistake because he's still dealing with the loss of his mother and goes back to pick up Georgina because she reminds him of his mother who was hit by a car. And he doesn't know that Georgina is really Rose's grandmother, right? So that's why when she wakes up, she tries to kill him because of everything that's going on. So Georgina tries to kill Chris, and she dies in a car accident. He makes his way out of the car, and then Rose seeks grandfather after him. Now, the ending of the movie was also revised because Jordan said that initially he was going to end this movie like most horror films end, with the hero being killed. How many of you all ever saw the movie, the 1960s movie, The Night of the Living Dead, which was the inspiration for this film, which took place supposedly in Pennsylvania? It was the first movie about zombies, The Walking Dead, and has all white actors and one brother. And they all holed up, the humans are holed up in this house, and the brother rises to the occasion. He saves everybody, right? And then at the end of the movie, after the night of dealing with the zombies, there's a party of white folk combing the neighborhood, shooting the zombies and burning their bodies. And they see the brother in the house, and they think that he's a zombie, and they kill him, right? So the brother can't even catch a break. So Jordan was going to incorporate that trope into